So now, on to Gongchik, chapter 7. Again, I want to say, as I look at, more closely at each of the Vajra statements in this chapter, as I brought up yesterday already, but really, all of these, majority of these statements, the 15 statements here, are concerned to address the problem of nihilism. Concerned to address the problem of nihilism. So that sounds, right, kind of very philosophical. So what does it mean? What it means is concern to address the problem of thinking that cause and effect has no relevance at the state of Buddhahood. Now, that has some meaning for us now. Why this concern about nihilism? Because fundamentally, right, the issue about nihilism is the dismissing of the effectiveness, the role of karmic causality. So, as I said yesterday, overall, in the Buddhist tradition, using the approach of negation is kind of the preferred mode, using negation. And you can see this, like in the broader context of religion and mysticism. In many spiritual traditions, the use of negation, which is to emphasize that the ultimate state, or in theistic tradition, right, the divine state, the state of God, is so completely transcendent, so completely different from what you and I currently know, that the only way to even give us a sense of an idea of what that is can only be done by saying what it is not. So in fact, in Hinduism, in the Upanishads, as a group of religious texts, appeared in about the same time, some of it earlier than the Buddha and some of it later than the time of the Buddha, but about the same time in the Upanishads. And the Upanishads similarly would use this language of negation. In fact, one of the phrases in the Upanishads is, in Sanskrit, is called neti neti. Neti neti, which is not this, not that. So there's a conversation between a teacher and student, and the teacher is trying to help the student understand what the divine self, in that system, they talk about divine self, what the divine self is. So then the students say, oh, so is the divine self like this? Neti. No, not this. Then, oh, you mean like, if it is not this, does it have density? Neti. No. Oh, you mean like it's light? Neti. No, not this, not that. Neti, neti. So the whole conversation is just the student bringing out whatever he's able to bring out in his realm of reference, And the guru says, neti, 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 neti. Yeah, so this is also found, in the early Buddhist texts, where the Buddha, when asked, what is nirvana, he says, no, it's not this, no, it's not that. Even the word nirvana is to extinguish. Now, of course, that has led some people to think, oh, the goal of the Buddhist practice is to extinguish your existence, to get rid of your existence, to become nothing. No, that's nihilism. Buddha warns against that. Although the Buddha warns against that, there is a predominance of the use of the language of negation. The Vajra Statements in chapter 7 is addressing the over-negation, the problem of over-negating. Yeah? So 7.3 says, a Buddha is completely beyond illusory phenomena. And this is said in response to all those who say, or all those who take literally what the sutras and what the great beings said about the illusory nature of nirvana, the illusory nature of Buddhas. For sure, especially in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, for sure, you will find things, statements like, sentient beings are illusory, just like Buddhas are illusory. Gods are illusory and demons are illusory. On and on, So you definitely find all this, even in Jigten Sumgon's teachings, in Pamodrupa's teachings, in Milarepa's teachings, you will come across statements like that. Not only is samsara illusory, even nirvana is illusory, right? Statements like that. Yes. And we need to understand that. It's not just saying that me, I, you are illusory. Even Buddhas are illusory. Now, this led to some people who think that in a complete and absolute way, definitely Buddhas are illusory. That once the illusion of this world is done, then the illusion of the Buddha world is also done. Then poof, nothing. Poof, nothing. The poison has been cancelled out by the antidote. Now, no poison, no antidote. Finish. What Kyobpa Rinpoche is saying is, it's not literally that. Both poison and antidote. Antidote has done the job of neutralizing poison. Now both poison and antidote finish. And what's left there is mere absence. Kyobpa says, no. The Buddha state is not mere absence. Because, 7.3, a Buddha or Buddhas are completely beyond illusory phenomena. And Buddhas are completely beyond illusory phenomena. So even when, whether the Mahasiddhas, the great masters, or the sutras, or the tantras says Buddhas are illusory, those statements need to be understood carefully so that you don't end up thinking that Buddhas are illusory in the same way that son of a barren woman, child of a barren woman is illusory. Different. Now, Khenpo Kunpal's commentary is very short. On page 254, 7.3, he says, since a Buddha is a unity of wisdom and the absolute space of phenomena, sphere of phenomena, clear light and uncompounded, he is distinguished. Okay? He is different. Thus, he is completely beyond illusory compounded phenomena that are appearances that arise from conditions and so forth. Then he quotes a sutra. Ornament of the Light of Wisdom says, all phenomena are like illusions. There is not even any illusion. The Buddha is completely liberated from illusions. I pay homage to you who do not conform to illusions. So this quote is meant to show how, like the first two lines, all phenomena are like illusions. There is not even any illusion. Like by the nature that by definition, to say that they're illusion means that they don't truly exist. And then here it says, but Buddhas are beyond illusions, and I pay homage to that. Buddhas are beyond illusion. So it's not nothing. This nihilism these days can also come out in the form of what sometimes is called secular Buddhism. Secular Buddhism is basically a materially based form of Buddhism, which is, to the degree that there is anything real, that which is real is that which is objectively verifiable. And so how do you verify things objectively? Objectively, I think for us these days, right? It simply means materially. When we say, can that be objectively verified? Yeah. We're basically saying, can this be materially proven to be true? So a material witness, right? Like in court. So I'm not saying, that that is wrong, but I am pointing out that from the Dharma perspective, materialism then, a view of the world that is materially based, is in the end nihilistic, because all material fall apart. And when they fall apart, that's it. The end of story. Now, some Dharma is better than no Dharma. So, secular Buddhism helps some people be better people right here, right now. Not necessarily wrong, but my estimation is limited. It's limited to, as long as this material body is functioning, present, there is meaning. When this is gone, no more meaning. It is true, to be honest, the details that sometimes we read about, come across, in traditional Buddhist texts regarding the non-material that maybe some of us call supernatural. The details can be a little kind of like detailed and perhaps overwhelming. And some of us find it easier to accept those descriptions. You know, the Pure Land is like this, and like this, and the realm of the hungry ghost is like this, like this, like this. You know, the spirits of the yakshas and kumbhandas and asuras is like this, like this, like this. You know, some of us are quite willing and able to accept that. You know, then some of us are like, I don't know. You know. And then some of us, really, I've met people who say that they have experienced it, they have seen. Yeah. But if you ask me, frankly, I can admit and say to you, I'm not that sure, you know, like about the specificities, like the literalness of all of this. But at the same time, I personally don't feel the need to go completely the other direction of saying, oh, no, it's all just materially based. And once this material is over, meaning also goes out the window. Yeah. There is the non-material. There are realities that are not materially based. This is back to this issue of, like, you know, nihilism. Back to this issue of nihilism. The supernatural, so to say, or the non-material, need not be as supernatural as we conventionally think. It can be about the experience of a sunset that helps us go beyond the materially based. Right? The experience of a powerful thunderstorm that makes us experience something beyond the material. The experience of a very quiet and peaceful autumn night that helps us go beyond the materially based. So be careful with this nihilism. All of the Vajra statements here, you know, address that. The next Vajra statement says, a Buddha dwells at all times permanently in a state of valid cognition. This is a technical, this debate is a little bit too technical, I think, for us. So I'm not going to say too much about it. It has to do with, Buddhist logicians and philosophers debating. The point is, maybe the take-home lesson for us is, they say there are again a variation of this kind of nihilism. A variation of that nihilism is in the area of, like, valid cognition. So valid cognition is related to Buddhist teachings about epistemology, how you know what you know. Are you able to know what are the limits of knowing? All of that whole area. So then there are 7 ways of knowing, 5 of which are considered not valid cognition, and 2 of which are valid cognition in the Buddhist tradition. The 2 that are valid cognition is direct perception, and the second one is inference. That means clear inference, of course, not like mistaken inference. So clear, valid cognition of that is inference. The example always used is, if you see smoke, then you can say there is fire somewhere. Big or small, that fire, those are details, right? What is the cause of that fire? More details. But if you see smoke, you can infer that there is fire. So these are 2 that are accepted as valid cognition. Now, in this issue here, how does it relate to nihilism? It has something to do with this. In some of these debates, for those who for Kyobpa has gone into a nihilistic extreme, is they say that in that final moment when Siddhartha burnt away all confusion, that moment for just that split of a moment, right? That Big Bang moment that we call enlightenment, from the perspective of this valid cognition, is a moment where all invalid cognitions, so to say, all perverted cognitions are burnt away by this moment of valid seeing directly. And since, again, right, the poison is all gone, having been counteracted by the antidote being this valid cognition, then in subsequent moments, Buddhas don't have valid cognition. Yeah, I know, for us, right, because we're not so educated or schooled in the ins and outs of this logic system, we might even feel, this conclusion to be kind of absurd. After that, Buddhas don't have valid cognition. But Kyobpa says, actually, by definitions, by definition, Buddha means awakened one. And awakened ones, what do awakened ones? What is the quality of an awakened one? Is one who sees without distortion at all times. And so a Buddha, at all times permanently, is nothing but valid cognition. And so here Khenpo Kunpal says, the Buddhas dwell at all times permanently in valid cognition that simultaneously sees the two truths as indivisible, and they do not stray from this even for a moment. So in quoting a sutra, even when the elephant, meaning the Buddha, stays still, he rests in equipoise. And when the elephant sleeps, he rests in equipoise. And when the elephant walks, he rests in equipoise. Now, equipoise means meditative equipoise, in a state of without being moved. It is said in the Tantra, when the Buddha says, what the Buddha says is exactly so. Thus, it does not change into something else. Therefore, it is the valid cognition of the whole world, including the gods. It is undeceiving. So this is a quote from the Tantra. So this is a finer point in addressing the potential kind of nihilistic understanding relating to after the antidote to the poison has been applied, both poison and antidote are destroyed. It's addressing that in the context of valid and invalid cognitions. Yeah. So this is verse statement 3 and statement 4. So that's it for today. Let's now do dedication. And before dedication, on page 9, supplication to Guru Rinpoche for removing obstacles and fulfilling wishes. So again, Guru Rinpoche, those of you who are local to our area, this weekend, Khenpo Nima is going to give the Guru Rinpoche empowerment again to our community at Urban Dharma. It's good to come if you are able to. As I said, the Guru Rinpoche principle is basically the principle of, there are many things you could say about the Guru Rinpoche principle, But one of that is that for us, where Dharma is new, Dharma is unstable, Guru Rinpoche is the one who stabilized the Dharma in the landscape of Tibet. And where's the landscape of Tibet now? Here. This is the landscape of Tibet. On Sunday, at the smoke offering, I talked about this principle of the three figures that in the history of the Dharma in Tibet said to be instrumental in firmly establishing Dharma in Tibet is the Dharma King, Trisong Detsen, the Khenpo Bodhisattva, Santa Rakshita, and then the Lopön, the Dorje Lopön Guru Rinpoche. These three. So I call them the king, the abbot, and the wizard. The king has to do with how we need to have the Dharma king if we want the Dharma to be firm, to be established in our own lives, meaning determination and kingly authority. We have a saying in Chinese, that a king should not even joke or say anything in jest, because a king's word have to carry weight. So that a king has such responsibility that you should not even joke, because your word carries a lot of weight. So we need to have the king within us. And that means we need to develop weight in terms of our determination. Almost to the point of how we stereotype, like order people around like a king. But an effective king can only order people around if people recognize the weight that this king carries, and the gravitas that the king has. So we need to develop that. The Bodhisattva abbot is clear knowledge, clear understanding, rational, not easily swayed by emotions, ability to see clear. That is important for our Dharma lives. Then third, wizard. That is the ability to deal with unreasonable spirits and demons in this ancient spirits and demons that lurk in this landscape. These are those things, that reason cannot, the Khenpo Bodhisattva cannot, and just determination of the king cannot. It needs Guru Rinpoche's wizardry. It needs Guru Rinpoche's magic to trick them into submission, to overwhelm them into submission. That's the Guru Rinpoche principle. The wizard works because he knows how to bring things together. We think it's magic, but we think it's magic because we don't understand. Like the microwave oven, we think it's magic, well, we don't think it's magic, but if someone has never seen a microwave oven, if you show them, they're like, oh my gosh, this is magic, it's not magic, the engineers know how to create the right causes and conditions. So likewise, the wizard, is the Guru Rinpoche principle. anyway, all of you in your own way can connect with this Guru Rinpoche principle. So even if you're not here, it's okay, don't worry. You find your ways of connecting with that when the conditions are right. Khenpo is not one who likes to do empowerments through video. So that is the principle that he adheres to. We have to respect that. So he's saying, no, I don't want to do that. So Guru Rinpoche, Buddha of the 3 times great bliss, source of all siddhis, wrathful subduer of maras, who removes all obstacles, grant your blessings, we pray. Through them may all obstacles, outer, inner, and secret, be quelled, and may all our aspirations be fulfilled. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers, and may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstruct us, who harm those who create obstacles, maras who mislead, and their mara retinues have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I come under the care of virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Okay, ta-ta, all of you. We will continue tomorrow. Bye-bye.